Bande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalako.
And what I realized was that for so many years I'd been a Gurukul teacher and running Gurukuls, and I had always said, as I hear other people say, why doesn't some of this money go to the kids? Now that's reasonable, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with saying that. But it was one of my passions, you understand? The money should go to the kids. And I would say, Prabhupada said, it's one of our most important projects, and here we are building these temples, and we don't even have a desk for the children. And I was very passionate about it, and in my mind, it was one of the most glorious things about me. If I looked at my life in bhakti, and if you'd asked me, what's the nicest thing you're giving to Prabhupada, I'd say, my dedication to Gurukula. Over and above every other service. and I really thought, you know, this is like some diamond that I'm giving to Prabhupada. On that day, Krishna showed me, and if I didn't tell all of you, you'd never know anything about it, so it was very private. It was very, very private. It wasn't like some big public scandal or anything, and I didn't get sick, and I didn't lose my house, or, I mean, it wasn't that kind of a thing. You know, I just couldn't write. And all of a sudden, I realized that this jewel wasn't a jewel, it was a piece of poop. Or if I had read Manah-siksa at that time, I would have realized it was just, you know, a donkey urine bath. And I was just shocked. I was really shocked. I had thought it was bhakti. I had really, really, really believed it was, I mean, with every bit of me. Now, of course, people had said things to me over the years sometimes. But I hadn't heard them. You understand? Well, that day I heard it, and I looked at it and I cried, and then the next day I was able to write about the Mayapur temple. So that's just a very simple example of how we can be bathing in donkey urine, sometimes for years or decades, without realizing it, thinking it's bhakti. So all this bathing in donkey urine is something that looks like bhakti, or maybe it looks like dharma, but at this point we've given up dharma, remember? So it's not even going to look like dharma, it's going to look like bhakti. It's going to look like bhakti, you're going to think it's a bath, but it's not. And the main symptom is that the donkey urine does what? It burns. And just when I was having breakfast, I was talking to one devotee who was saying how, you know, when you're doing service for the wrong reason, it fills you with things like resentment and anger and bitterness. The symptom that we are bathing in donkey urine, if everything else looks good in our life, folks, if we're doing the right things and saying the right things, but if we're feeling anger, bitterness, frustration, emptiness, we're not feeling that our sadhana is actually bringing us to what we've read about in the books, then probably we're bathing in donkey urine. That's the symptom. And you'll find that a lot of times when people are doing this, they blame other people. You know? I blamed the people that were spending money on the Mayapur temple, isn't that silly? For my own feelings of frustration. I mean, how ludicrous that sounds when you talk about it, you know. The reason I'm frustrated when I chant Hare Krishna is people are giving money to a temple. Is that sensible? You know, and I've gotten email after email from somebody, I can't become Krishna conscious because of my wife. That's really common. You know, it's her fault. It's my temple president's fault. It's my guru's fault. It's, I don't know, whatever. And it will come out like that. Because the person doesn't want to look within. So once we've gotten to this point, that we're free of the prostitute of mundane talk, the tigress of the talk of liberation, we're not attracted to enjoying the opulence of Vaikuntha, we have genuine love for the holy name and for Guru and Krishna, we really want to attain Vrindaban. Such persons may even have awakened to their rasa with Krishna in verse 3. And we're engaged in the activities of bhakti, we're not really messing up in what we're doing, but we feel this dissatisfaction, this emptiness. Then, my dear friends, you've got to look up and see what your shower head looks like. And if it looks like the blank of a blank, you're in trouble. So what's the cure? The cure, Raghunath Das Goswami says, is to find the ocean of love, which is nectar and which delights us. And this ocean of love, he says, is found at the feet of Gandharva Giridhari. So you can't see the pictures quite so well. The color is a little washed out. But this, in other words, to be doing things for the right motive, to start to unleash those inner emotions, to preach just because Krishna will be pleased, to chant our japa to please Guru and Krishna, to let go of attachment to money, to impressing the opposite sex, to trying to enjoy the world, and really relish this love of Radha and Krishna. Now we got this jewel earlier on, right? You all remember that? In verse 4 we got this jewel of love for Radha and Krishna. So a jewel is something external, and it's just in one place, it's just localized. This ocean of love is also external, but now it's pervasive. So the person at this point, they're saying, I relinquish the ways in which lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion are having sway internally in my heart. I'm not going to do anything any more motivated by envy. I'm not going to do anything any more motivated by lust, even if it appears to be bhakti. Right? Isn't that what was going on here? People were doing things that looked like bhakti, but they were really motivated by greed or lust or envy. I'm only going to do things to please Krishna. And one can do this when one looks at this donkey ear and he goes, bleh, why do I want to do that anymore? Now you notice this also requires some humility. Sada Dambadhifa, verse 1. It requires some humility. It requires humility to say, I'm a devotee but I talk nonsense. Wow, I got it. I'm talking about how wonderful I am. Oh my God. I'm a devotee but I'm actually, having illicit sex, or I'm a devotee but I'm going to the movies. Wow, I'm really fallen. It takes humility to say, I'm a devotee but my motives are just envious and lusty and greedy. And I stink from the donkey urine and no advanced devotee wants to be anywhere near me because I stink so much. Okay? It takes some humility to notice these things and to look at it and let go. Now what's really nice is that as soon as we basically notice these and let go of them, then Krishna takes them away. So, Raghunath Das Goswami is saying Gandharva, the artistic singer, and Giridhari, the mountain holder. So he who lifts up Govardhan Hill can certainly remove these impure motives from our heart. Does someone have a question on this first before we go on? Did you have a question? Yes.
Well, so one of the symptoms of the burning of the donkey ear, besides frustration, might be that we're complaining and blaming.
Complaining and blaming, definitely. Definitely.
That's a little bit more overt.
Yes. Of course, if you're doing a lot of complaining and blaming, then you jump back up to the prostitute again.
Right.
Which is why if you don't get rid of the root of this, which is the next verse, the other things can come back. Yes?
So you're talking about the jewel of love of Radha and Krishna, which is external love of life, and the ocean of the love of Radha and Krishna, which is
external and pervasive.
Those are analogies, but what's the difference of experience of those two?
What's the difference of experience? When you just have the jewel of love of Krishna, it's keeping you talking about love of Krishna, but it's not pervading your life. You're still doing sinful things according to lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion. It's not everywhere in your life. It's giving you enough power to speak properly, but it's not enough to take care of the other stuff. And it's not enough to go in the heart. Whereas swimming in this ocean of nectar is so pleasurable that you're just, in comparison, you're like, why would I want to do something for the sake of envy? Yes?
One may have this knowledge, but in the application, getting rid of those attachments, can you go gradually, or do you have to sort of say, okay, I'm really going to try to give it up all at once, or
well,
or do you map it out?
That's a good question. Do you gradually all at once? Do you map it out? I see the acharyas have mapped it out for us as a gradual process. So, especially when we get to the next verse. Why don't we wait till we get to the next verse and then I'll bring that up, because the next verse is the root. Yes?
So, at times we feel depressed when we are not doing our sadhana properly. How to address that kind?
Well, that's still in here. any depression, frustration, burning, dissatisfaction is due to this impure motive. That's what it's due to. That's what it's coming from. And how we do that, say, okay, what should my motive be? First you have to recognize what your motives are. Okay, and that's hard. I mean, I went for years thinking I had the right motive with that, and I didn't. So it's very difficult. And I guess I'm kind of answering your question now anyway, although I really want to wait till the next verse, which is one reason why you want to start with sound. Start with what you're talking about. Actually, start way out in the first verse and see if you even have any affection for anything in the process. Do I have any affection for Guru? Do I have any affection for holy places? Am I just ritualistic? Am I trying to be a good person, or am I trying to be Krishna's secret agent? Am I following Rupa Goswami? Make sure you got those things right. Am I at least humble enough to have Krishna look in my heart and get instruction? If you don't have that right, then go work on that. And once you have that, pretty much, doesn't have to be 100%, then start listening to yourself. What am I talking about? Get that down. And then, what am I doing? Because you won't even be able to see these. You won't be able to be aware of what you're talking about if you're still thinking you're a good person and you don't have any genuine affection for anything in bhakti. Does that make sense to you? Now that's all going to be finished with the next verse. Yes, and then I want to go on to the next verse.
Yeah, so another quick question. So maybe the distinction between having a passion for something and being passionate about it, like if you're passionate, you have a lot of angry energy, like they should be doing this. And because the difference would be having a passion, but then a detachment and not having to be angry at the other side. I just want to help the Guru Kulis, and they're doing that over there, and they're two separate things.
That's a very good point. And it's interesting because we think that lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion, whether for gross things or for subtle things, are necessary to motivate us to do the right thing. That's why Krishna says the demons have kamashricha, they take shelter of lust. So we think they're necessary, and we don't realize that I'll do the right thing a lot better if I'm motivated by wanting to please Krishna than if I'm motivated by these other things. All right, let's go down to the root. So we might think we've gotten rid of everything here. When we got rid of the donkey urine and we're bathing in the ocean of love. Huh? Right? But there's one thing that's a little deeper. So at this point, the person, they're bathing in the ocean of love, they have a jewel of love, they're talking the right way, they're doing the right thing, and they're even doing the right thing for the right reason. And they feel like there's a party going on in their heart. They feel very detached from the material world. They're detached from money, they're not interested in money, they're not interested in impressing the opposite sex, they're not worried about how they're going to be maintained in the world. They're just depending on Krishna and doing their service, and they're pretty happy people. And they're pretty exalted people. And they even feel like there's a party going on in their heart, but they're not noticing who's having the party. Okay? Pratishta sadrishta swapacharamani me ridinatet katam sadhu prema spursati suchire tananumanaha saratvam sevasva prabhudayita samantamatulam yatatam nishkasya twaritam ihatam veshayatisa. As long as the unchaste, dog-eating woman of desire for prestige dances in my heart, how can the chaste and pure lady of love for Krishna touch it? Therefore, O mind, you should always serve the incomparable, beloved, devotee commander of Krishna's army, who will immediately throw out the unchaste woman and establish the pure lady of love in the heart. So the party that's going on in the heart, the food that's being served, is a dead dog. And this dead dog, Raghunath Das Goswami compares to fame. Now there's nothing wrong with fame. There's nothing wrong with dogs. Dogs are useful creatures. But if you want to eat one, that's a problem. Right? So the desire to eat a dog is a problem. The desire to enjoy fame, as represented by a disloyal or unchaste woman. Why unchaste? Because if I want honor and fame, I don't remain loyal to anybody. Loyalty means I'm loyal to you whether you praise me or blame me, right? Isn't that what it means to be loyal? But when I want fame, I go to whoever will praise me. And then the chaste ladies of love, sadhu prema, not prema, but prema, the feminine form of prema, they will not enter this heart. So the devotee at this point in the process, what do they want to be honored for? Someone who's come all the way to this point, what do they want to be honored for? Yes?
Purity, renunciation.
Definitely, purity and renunciation, yes. Because they are very pure, and they are very renounced. They really are. But they want you to tell them so. They want you to notice it. They want you to be a saint. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his song on this verse, says that this woman has a boyfriend named Deceit. Because when we want to be honored, we cannot be honest. Isn't that a fact? Right? And therefore he says, this is the root. We have some trophies down there. That the desire for honor is the root of deceitfulness. And if we don't root out this desire for honor, everything else can come back. If we don't root out this desire for honor, because it brings deceit, it can bring back the donkey urine, and it can bring back the thieves, and it can bring back the prostitute and the tigress and so forth. We really have to get all the way to this root. We can start at the beginning and go step by step, but we've got to get to this root. Now you were asking me about, and I wanted to answer it here. So I give the example that there are groups in America that if someone's house burns down, they'll come and build your house in a day, right? Maybe they do that in Canada too, some charity groups. They build your house in a day. So it is very possible to get to this root and to pure love of Godhead immediately. That's possible. Everything could be done very quickly. Prabhupada says we could become Krishna conscious in a moment. However, for most of us, we need to go gradually, and you've got to make sure, whether you're building your house in a day or over years, you build your foundation first. So this is called a padati. It's a step-by-step process. Be one pointed to Krishna. See your guru as your friend and as Krishna's friend. Don't try to be a good or bad person in the world. Be an agent for Krishna. Have some love for the holy name. Watch what you're talking about. Fix what you're talking about. Listen to yourself, what you're saying. Be aware of what you're doing. Get what you're doing right. Then look in the heart. What am I doing it for? And then you can see this lady and her dog. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that these desires for fame and honor come to all the classes, the Swanista, the Parinista, and the Nirupeksha, the married, the renounced, those who have a job and a business, those who just do bhakti. And he says the married couples, and I would assume again this applies also to single people who are not renounced, they want to be known as very religious, as being sinless, as being a devotee of Vishnu, as being a knower of spiritual subjects, and as being detached. And the renunciates want to be known as being spotless and renounced, a master of the Shastric conclusion, and having a perfect understanding of devotion. And it's just so fascinating when you read this. I was reading this in front of one ISKCON leader, and when I read this, the person looked at me, and I could see this look on the person's face of, oops. So it's really a problem. If I want to be a saint, and a lot of times when we say, I want to be a pure devotee, I want to be a saint, what we're really saying is, I want to be honored as a saintly person. I'll honor Krishna, sure I'll honor Krishna, but I want to be right up there. And I want someone to say, you are the greatest devotee of Krishna. I mean, I even had someone say to me, and it was so funny working on this, I had someone say to me, you know, Urmila, I'm really the only one who knows the actual conclusions of love for Krishna in Prabhupada's books. So this is what we are looking for. You know? I am a devotee. Recognize. See how detached I am? I don't even care about women. I don't care about the opposite sex. I'm not envious of anyone. I just do whatever's needed for Krishna's service. And that's true at this point. But the person isn't really putting Krishna at the center, are they? So what's the cure? The cure is to do service for the real saints. The cure for wanting to be honored as a saint is I do service for the real saints. And that is so wonderful. It's so satisfying to be who we are. Because remember, when I want to be honored, I have to do all this pretension. Isn't that exhausting? Isn't it? It's just like, that's why we all like close relationships where we have people that we hope we can be authentic with. Right? It's like, okay, I'm with my family. I can just be a slob and a rude, obnoxious bore. But of course, our real self is not a slob and a rude, obnoxious bore. Our real self is a spirit soul, and it's glorious. And when we are in this mood of serving the saints, we connect with our real self, which is glorious. And it's such a relief to get free of all this burden of pretense. And these generals, Raghunath Das Goswami says, they'll send out the desire for honor and deceit out of the heart, and Krishna himself will send them out of the heart. And the chaste lady of love will enter the heart, which has now become a beautiful city. So the question is, do we want to serve or be served? This is the question. Right? Peter Burwash was talking a lot in his presentation about the beauty of service. Do we want to serve or be served? Bhaktivinoda talks about different ways that we can serve the great generals in Krishna's army. The embraces of the devotees, which are purifying, the dust from their feet, their food remnants. Here's Chalnarda taking the remnants of the devotees, the water that's washed their feet, and then the spiritual potency will flow from the heart of a great devotee into our heart. And then here's our oil painting for this verse, although the colors are much better than this. This is the chaste ladies of love who enter. Wouldn't it be nice to have those ladies in your heart instead of that crazy woman with her dead dog? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, and Srila Prabhupada says that the gopis, when they're dressing just to please Krishna, right? Ordinary women, they dress to make men lusty and women envious. But these women, they're dressing just to please Krishna. Just pure love there in the heart. So now we've finished all the heavy stuff of Manah-siksa. You made it. Hey, all right. You actually stayed and you made it through all the heavy stuff. Okay. Now we're at perfection. And you say, well, Urmila, this is too high for me. I can't handle this perfection stuff. But the nice thing about Manah-siksa is this description of what happens at perfection also applies to a large extent even for the beginning devotees. I really like that about Manah-siksa. Although it's a book about spontaneous devotion, it's not forbidden for the beginners, because everything can be applied even for the beginners. All right, so we're going to start with text 8, and I want you to tell me, we're going through this verse, what's absent in this verse? What's now gone? Yata dustatvam me davayati shasapyapi kripaya Yata mayam premamritamapi dadachujvalamashal Yata shrigandharva bhajana viraye prerayatimam Tata goste katva giridharami hatvam bhajamanaha. Even though I am a cheater, the Lord's mercy can drive away my inherent wicked nature, give me the glowing nectar of divine love, and inspire my heart with the process to worship Sri Gandharvika. Therefore, O mind, with pleading words, you should worship Sri Giridhari here in Vrindavan. You notice the 3 yatas, 3 requests. So what's gone here? What's absent in this verse? The anarthas. And what specifically that we were told to give up in verse 1 that's now finally gone? Pride. I'm a cheater. Right? The last verse was, I am a sadhu. And now I'm a cheater. I'm a cheater. I was talking to one devotee once, and I said, yeah, you know, my heart's really full of evil. And she looked at me and like, well, what did you do? But this is the mood, you know, I'm a cheater. I have an inherent wicked nature, asking for 3 things: for the Lord's mercy, I'm not going to get rid of my inherent wicked nature by my, sadhana, by my dharma, by my vows, by my austerity. We have to do all that. We were told to do all that in verse 1, 2, and 3. But it's really by mercy. We were told don't be lazy and depend on luck. Follow Rupa Goswami, follow Swarup Damodar, do all the things. But we're doing them really just to attract mercy and to be receptive to mercy. It's mercy that's going to purify me. And now that I'm purified, now we get the internal. Give me the glowing nectar to drink. Now this wonderful love of God, I'm not just swimming in it, I'm not just holding it. It's pervading me. And we always hear just one nectar. We read about how in the mode of goodness, all the gates of the body are illumined by knowledge. Well, this is a lot higher than knowledge. This is love. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Radha and Krishna are just pouring this nectar into the hearts of the devotees, and how the Ladini Shakti, the rays of the Ladini Shakti now illumines our heart. Now it could be back in verse 3, Saragam, that we had some awakening that, oh, I'm a gopi, I'm a cowherd boy like this. But now it's fully revealed. The rays of Ladini Shakti light up our heart. They act like water on a seed, activating that seed of our inherent nature. And the devotee says, please engage me in the worship of Gandharva. Please put me fully under the shelter of the internal energy. Mahatmanas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashritaha. Give me Radharani's shelter. So she's in charge of all the devotees, engaging all the devotees in their eternal service. Bhaktivinoda has some wonderful prayers here. It says, O Devi Gandharva, falling down like a rod, I am an extremely distressed soul asking you to count me as one of your devotees. I want to dress you in a cloud-colored sari. I want to massage your lotus feet. Quite a difference from I want to be this myself, right? I want to serve you. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur reminds us that we have to go through the devotees. By the mercy of the devotees, we can attain this wonderful service. So now the soul is really awakened. Now just not like getting out of bed, but really fully out of bed, starting to realize their eternal nature. And we know at this point in the process of spontaneous devotion, one is supposed to meditate on the devotees in Vrindavan who exemplify one's own internal mood. So Raghunath Goswami is giving us this next verse because this is his internal mood, who he meditates on. And he's also giving this as a template for who we would meditate on. But again, we can still meditate on these people even in the beginning stages of bhakti. Marishana tatve vraja virpina chandram vrajavane Shwarim tamna tatve taratula sakitve tulalitam Vishakam shikshali vitarana gurutve priyasaro Girindro tat prekshala litaradi datve smaramanaha. O mind, meditate on Krishna, the moon of the Vrindavan forest, as the Lord